These next 2 weeks are ushering in a period of insane forward momentum, the likes of which we haven't seen in many months. And the new moon in Aquarius is what kicks this off. I'm super excited to be here with you today to talk about the new moon and the coming energies in the next 2 weeks, the entire waning phase of the lunar cycle beginning January 21st all the way through to February 4th. And of course, I'm Heather Elin. This is Astrology with Heather. Welcome back. And so in this video, we're going to talk about the energy of the new moon, which, as I mentioned before, is a big initiatory energy. This is the new moon to kickstart your new year. This is the new moon to get something off the ground, to take advantage of the momentum that's coming up. This is where the new beginnings that we seed will actually have some energy behind them finally for the first time in at least a few weeks. And again, this is an energy that we haven't seen in months and months and months. We will have all planets direct shortly after this new moon. The new moon is, of course, in the sign of Aquarius, which is a sign of rebellion, of progress, of forward thinking. This is where we're going to be rebelling against a lot of our current circumstances. There's a lot of change that we've been wanting to make in our lives, especially over the past couple of years, but that Uranus-Saturn square that's been ongoing has been preventing us from really getting things going. It's been preventing us from really taking things to the next level. It's kind of like we make a little bit of progress, we stall out, then we have to pivot, then we have to step backward, then we have to go forward again. And it's kind of been all over the place where there have been challenges that have come up. There have been issues at hand that haven't allowed us to fully embrace that momentum, to fully embrace the progress that we want to make, that Aquarian energy wants us to make. And this energy with the new moon in Aquarius is far removed from Saturn, which is really, really nice. So it's kind of like a new beginning and a fresh start in that Aquarian area of our lives, in that area that's concerned more with the whole and the good of the group, in that area that's more concerned with society, with our social connections, in that area that's more concerned with forward progress through innovation, through new ideas, through projecting things forward into the future. And so I love, love, love this energy for that. Also, Uranus, which is the modern ruler of this new moon. Saturn is actually the traditional ruler. That Saturn-Uranus square energy, like I mentioned before, is coming apart. And that's another reason why this energy is going to give us the progress we've been seeking and craving and desiring in certain areas of our lives that we have not been able to attain. This is also a time where we've been this is also an energy. Actually, let me pull up the chart. I forgot that I have charts again here because I'm doing this in my just right at my computer in the least fanciest way. And so this is actually the chart for the new moon in the sign of Aquarius. And so it's doing a few interesting things here. Before we get into kind of the nitty gritty of that chart and what that looks like over there, that way. I wanted to talk about the moon being at its perigee, being really close to the earth. This is one of those crisis lunations that I discussed a couple of videos ago when we had the new moon in Capricorn. It's still a very strong energy. And so in this particular circumstance, because I feel that this new moon is so positive in so many ways, I think this is going to be us feeling very emotionally charged toward that momentum that we really need to take. It's like Mars has been retrograde, Mercury has been retrograde. We've been stalled out. We've been having a lot of new ideas or a lot of things that we want to make progress with. And all of a sudden, we finally have the opportunity to do so. And the opportunity is being brought on by that emotional stimulus, that energy that really propels us forward through our gut instincts, through what we feel we need to do. But it's also because we have that new moon in a sextile with Jupiter, which is newly entered into the sign of Aries back in December. And so if you haven't already watched the two videos I've done on Jupiter and Aries, one that I did on my own and the other with Zoe Cardiff, who's a graduate of the Cosmic Academy of Astrology and a brilliant professional astrologer, make sure you do that. I'm going to try to have those floating around up here, but definitely we'll have those videos at the end for you to watch as well, because this is an activation of Jupiter in Aries. Jupiter in Aries is all about optimism, enthusiasm, and motivation. And the planet that rules Aries, of course, is Mars. That's the dispositor here. And it's direct. And finally, 2 days after this new moon, it's going to get off of that 8-degree mark where it's been sitting all month long. It's just been sitting at the same degree, you guys. Mars is our action. It's our willpower. It is our momentum. It's the fire that drives us. It's the passion that leads us forward. And that has been stagnant even after it went direct. This is a time where at this new moon, we're ushering into a period when we start to actually see the moon, when it starts to grow and turn into that little waxing crescent. That's when Mars kicks us into action. That's when we're able to get things going. Also, on the day of this, actually the day after this new moon, you can see here Uranus in this chart is actually still retrograde on the day of the new moon. It's going to be moving direct. It's going to be stationing to go direct on the 23rd of January. That is when all planets are direct. This is a crazy thing that only happens usually for a short period once a year. And we're going to have all planets direct from January 22nd after that Uranus station all the way through to April 21st. That is 3 months, you guys, of all planets direct. Just think about how much we're going to accomplish, how much is going to get done, and how fast things are going to start moving forward. It's going to feel, you guys, like we've been blindsided. Like these next 3 months are going to go by in such a flash that we're not going to know what hit us. We're going to feel like we have whiplash. It's going to be like, whoa. All of this happened. All of this was accomplished. All of this happened externally as well, because as a society, we're all influenced by these energies. So that you're going to see a lot of progress, a lot of things changing, a lot of moving and shaking out in the ethers, out in your social circle, out in the world at large. A lot is going to happen, and it's going to feel like we've condensed like an entire year's worth of experiences in just this 3-month little span of time. It's kind of like everything we've been building and rebuilding and hashing out and internalizing and sorting through and going back and forth with and having to pivot on and having all these roadblocks with that Saturn Uranus energy. It's finally just being unleashed. This is also where we're having this like last chance these next few months to harness the energies of Pluto in Aquarius, which we're going to talk about in just a second because that's very relevant to this new moon, but also Saturn in Pisces. And also, we're going to have Jupiter moving into Taurus, and that's going to be happening in May as well. So we're kind of at this like last ditch effort to utilize and build and create and work with these energies of these two planets in these signs, especially with Saturn in Pisces, because that's not coming back. Or Saturn in Aquarius, sorry, because that's not coming back. It's moving into Pisces for good, and it'll be there for 2.5 years. So we're at this period where it's crunch time. Whatever we need to get done, this is the time to do it. Whatever you want to initiate, whatever you want to learn, whatever journey or adventure you want to embark on, whatever you want to gain momentum with and have opportunities present themselves out of for the coming year, this is the period where you want to initiate. This is the period where you want to put in the work, put in the effort. This is where the period where when opportunities do present themselves, you want to take advantage and take full advantage while the energy is there. Kind of moving on from that part of this, which that's a big part of this, you guys. The next 2 weeks is like the kickoff of that momentum. Planets are all direct. Everything's going. Even Mars, which has been lackluster, is finally taking a leap forward. But this is kind of like this is also going to be a major preview, especially on that intuitive, instinctual level. The moon represents our intuition, our subjective sense of reality, and our instincts especially. And so with this new moon in the sign of Aquarius, this dark moon, which is extra introspective, extra psychically charged, and extra internalized, we are getting the very first taste of an energy that's coming up in March, which is Pluto moving into the sign of Aquarius for the very first time. Now, Pluto is actually going to be in Aquarius. Let's see here. I have the dates written down. Pluto is going to be in Aquarius on on March 23rd through June 11th of this year. And so it's just going to do a tiny dip into Aquarius for a few weeks. So that's also just going to be a little taste. But at that 0 degree in Aquarius, which is where it's going to stay for this first pass, at that 0 degree, it's a very concentrated, focused Aquarian energy. And at that 1st degree in Aquarius, it's very similar. The 0 degree of any sign is the most focused energy of that sign. And so it's like Aquarius on steroids. And so you're going to see a lot of what's going to be coming up during that period. And of course, I'm going to do a video on that Pluto and Aquarius transit coming up here in the next few weeks. But this new moon is giving you an intuitive and instinctual, almost like a psychic awareness of what this is going to lead to, not just as a society, because this is a 20-year transit that affects us as a whole for 20 whole years. It impacts the way our entire society is shaped. It impacts the focus of that era, of that period of time in our world at large. It represents this period in our own lives. That's a 20-year transit, a 20-year transition, a 20-year transformation in some area of our lives. And so this is a huge, huge energy that we all need to be aware of and we all need to start preparing for, because it's going to change the way the world looks. It's going to change the way our lives look. It's going to change a lot about ourselves and about the way that we understand ourselves on a deep core level. And so this new moon is especially going to be that preview. So it's a time to get a lot of forward momentum, a lot of energy going. That enthusiasm with the Jupiter sextile is there. The momentum with all the planets direct is there. But there's also something going on internally that runs really deep. This is about us getting clear on what we need, want, and desire to transform, to harness, to focus in on in our lives for the next 20 years. Obviously, we're not going to do all of that just at the time of this new moon. That's going to be a large process of doing a lot of introspection, a lot of self-work, and having like a lot of stuff play out externally to aid us in that transformation. But we'll get a taste of the themes, right? We'll get a taste or an instinctual understanding of where this is headed at the time of this new moon. And so that is super potent and super powerful. And so before we move on to the all signs forecast, I just want to mention what you should look for in your own personal birth chart in order to get the most out of this forecast that I do for you guys for free every 2 weeks. So first off, make sure you download my free Astrology 101 PDF guide that covers the signs, planets, houses, rulerships, exaltations, aspects, and so much more. So that way you can understand what we're talking about here in this video. And once you've done that, look for the planets in your own chart that are in the sign of Aquarius, especially the first 0 to 5 degrees of Aquarius. Those planets are going to be very stimulated by this energy, and these are planets that are going to be hit by Pluto as well. So you want to look at what the significations of those planets are and what the significations of the houses that are ruled by those planets are, which you can find that information in the PDF guide. Those energies of those planets are going to be subject to a deep and radical change, a deep and radical transformation, not just right now, but over the next 20 years. This is also where you're going to be setting your intentions. What you're going to be initiating is going to be very tied to those planetary energies. This is a reset on those planets where you get a chance to use your intuition to guide you into something brand new. And it's going to be maybe a brand new idea that you chase. This is an air sign, it's an Aquarius, and you'll become very fixated on it because it's a fixed sign, right? And Pluto is going to be coming into the mix. Pluto rules obsession, compulsion, and fixation. And so that's the first thing to look at. The second thing to look at is do you have any planets in the sign of Aries, especially at 0 to, I would say 6 or 7 degrees because of where Jupiter is sitting at 4 degrees during this time. Those planets are going to be subject to extreme momentum, new beginnings that come about very easily, in a way, kind of gently, but more like positively, where it's like, there's a lot of energy. It's just being unleashed. You're moving forward with things all at once, but it's working. It's synergizing. It's kind of like flowing in the way that it needs to, where it's not causing too much of a ruckus or chaos in your life. This is also where a lot of new opportunities can present themselves externally for you in your life and in your chart. And so you want to look for that as well, not just the general significations and keywords for those planets, which are available in the guide, but also what houses do they rule and what do those houses signify. The next thing you want to look at, especially for this new moon energy, is which planets do you have in the fixed signs outside of Aquarius? And so the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. And so those areas of life, especially if you have planets between 0 and 5 degrees, are going to be subject to major new beginnings, major momentum, and major change. However, those changes, that momentum, that initiation will be subject to somewhat of a challenge. And so that's something to make note of as well. Finally, you want to look at which planets do you have in Gemini and in Libra. And so Gemini and Libra are the two additional air signs. And so that means that this new moon will be in trine with those planets. A trine is a beautiful, harmonious aspect that allows things to flow very naturally. And so especially if you have planets between 0 and 5 degrees in those signs, you want to look at the planetary significations as well as which houses they rule and the significations of those houses. And so that's what you're going to be looking for in your own chart. That's going to be subject to positive new beginnings and ease and grace in the changes and initiations that you're going to be encountering, the opportunities that come up. And so that's going to be a beautiful thing for you. And for those who really want to learn what the heck I'm talking about and learn to do astrology for yourself and in your own life, I actually have some really great news. The Cosmic Academy of Astrology is going to be opening for enrollment again finally on February 8th. And so make sure you mark your calendars for that. And if you're on the wait list, which you can still join down below, you get access in 10 days and exclusive additional bonus savings. And so make sure you check out the waitlist, get your name on that, look into the academy. We teach you everything you need to know: signs, planets, houses, aspects, angles, everything you need to know to actually read a birth chart. We learn transits, secondary progressions, perfections. We teach solar and lunar returns. We even teach you skills that you need if you want to run an astrology business and do consultations professionally. It really goes over everything. It's everything you need to know in order to not just learn to understand astrology at a basic level, but to give really solid, really meaningful, accurate astrology readings and make predictions that will really and truly help people. And so again, Cosmic Academy of Astrology, February 8th for everyone who's not on the wait list. If you are on the wait list, which you can still jump on right now, January 24th, you'll be able to do early enrollment. All right, and so let's get into the forecast for all of the signs. Put my little notepad down there. Beginning, of course, with Aries. And Aries, you're the one that's like on the screen right now already, so that makes it pretty easy. And so for Aries and for Aries rising, this new moon energy is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, and people that you surround yourself with by choice. This is not just about starting something new in this area, like a one-time thing. This is something that you really want to think through. And so there's a new beginning coming your way when it comes to your social connections, when it comes to your friendships, when it comes to, my chair's like in a weird spot. When it comes to your group associations, when it comes to the people that you connect with. And so it could be that new connections, new friendships are coming your way. And with this sextile to Jupiter in your sign, these new friendships are going to create incredible new opportunities for you. But these are also going to be transformative energies because of that Pluto energy that's coming into the mix very shortly after this, in March of this year. So you do want to kind of make sure you're thinking it through, right? This isn't just fair weather friendships. You're looking for new connections and new networks with people that run deep, that are deeply trustworthy, that are deeply loyal, that you feel a deep connection to, and that will eventually help to transform you in a way that aligns your energy with the energy of who you truly and deeply are inside and out, where you are 110% in your integrity. You are 110% aligned with your path. You're 110% aligned with your desires. And so these friendships have to be aligned in a similar way. That being said, whatever it is that you want to initiate that is truly aligned with your desires, that is at a core level, something that you really, I don't want to say like, but something that you like yearn for. It's like your soul needs this. When it comes to a group connection, maybe you want to start like a group or an organization or a circle of some kind that's centered around healing, or that's centered around connecting with people who think outside of the box, like free thinking people, whatever it is. If there's something that you're excited about and that you feel really pulled toward in that way, involving connecting with the right people at the right time, this is where you have the green light to do it, and you can make that a reality. Okay, and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. This is where finally, after working and toiling away for the last 2.5 years while Saturn's been in Aquarius, squaring your ascendant sun or moon at that, you've been working really hard to build a solid foundation for something when it comes to your career, or when it comes to your public standing, or when it comes to whatever it is that you put out there into the world for public consumption. This could also have to do with the legacy that you leave behind after your working years, if you're somebody who's retired or no longer working. And so this could be something with that as well. This could also be you initiating something, or having the opportunity to initiate something that connects you with somebody that you look up to, somebody in a position of power and authority, or who has attained some sort of notoriety in your field or in an area of interest for you, where it's almost like you've been looking toward them for guidance, and all of a sudden you're able to get their blessing or get their assistance, or they recognize you in some way as a result of what you're initiating at the time of this new moon. That doesn't mean it happens at the new moon. It just means that this is the time to move forward with that. Send that email, send that message, reach out to that person that seems untouchable maybe to you, and you'll be surprised at the results. It might not happen immediately, but that momentum is there, and it'll happen a lot more quickly than it normally would. This is a really great time to set goals and set intentions for any career-related opportunities, anything that you aspire to accomplish out in the world in this coming year. Seed those intentions, get things going, because you have the momentum to finally make it happen. Just make sure that it's really aligned with what you truly need, want, and desire, because this is going to be you instinctually knowing what that Pluto energy is going to bring, and that Pluto energy is going to transform who you are out in the public eye. Pluto in the 10th house, by the way, not something to be scared of. This is where you could have an extreme shift in power and authority that could be very positive for you, where all of a sudden you attain some sort of notoriety that is quite intense, honestly. And I've seen this happen actually quite a few times. And people who have this in their birth chart too, they tend to be very powerful, or they have a powerful presence or a powerful image, or something along those lines. So thinking toward that, even if it's not something that you truly want or that you feel aligned with, just thinking about how that might play out in your life and allowing your intuition to guide you in that way is going to give you a preview of that next 20-year energy of Pluto and Aquarius, and how that's going to begin for you in just a couple of months. All right. And so for Gemini and Gemini rising. So for Gemini, this new moon energy is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of education. It's the house of long distance travel. It's the house of adventure. It's the house of philosophy, religious value systems, morals and ethics and belief systems. And it's the house of your integrity. And so this is a time for you to really get clear on an instinctual level with what's aligned with your integrity and what's not. You've been going through a purge already in preparation for this new moon, but especially for that Pluto in Aquarius cycle, which we'll talk about in just a couple of weeks here. And so this is where instinctually you're going to be able to take stock of what you've refined in terms of your belief systems, your ideologies that you adhere to, and whether or not you've been too rigid or too dogmatic. You might have been doubling down on the dogma with the Saturn in Aquarius of all signs in your 9th house. And if that's the case, you're going to get an intuitive hit, or you're going to start to be able to see on that subjective level, on that instinctual level, where you've been misaligned or where you've been holding on to things too rigidly, where that dogma is not serving you. This is a good time for you to start letting go of that in preparation for what Pluto's going to do, because Pluto will make it a little more intense. If you get ahead of that, you might be a little bit better off, or you might have an easier time with it. Not to say that you're going to have a horrible time with Pluto and Aquarius. Being a Gemini, it's going to be trining your ascendant, sun, or moon at some point. It's going to be empowering, but it's going to be about refining those ideals. This is also a really great new moon for taking advantage of opportunities for traveling with friends, or some sort of group course, or an online educational pursuit, like the Cosmic Academy of Astrology. If that's your thing. But because this is in your 9th house, which is, connecting at a distance, it is higher education. It is the house that has to do with prophecy, traditionally, and astrology and in philosophy and all those things that we talked about. But it's in sextile with Jupiter in the 11th. So doing something that involves a group of like-minded people, or a group of people that are highly motivating or motivated, that will keep you optimistic and enthusiastic, that involves education, you're likely to connect with the right people through that system, through that course, through that whatever it is, that will help further your goals and present opportunities to you that you otherwise wouldn't have. So this is almost like engaging in education and coming away with lifelong friendships. This could also be you wanting to initiate something where you're teaching, where you're putting education or information out there, where you're podcasting, doing videos, doing lectures, public speaking, whatever it is. If it's something especially that you've been holding off on, or you've had to hold off on because there's been too much disruption and too many kind of pivots with that Saturn-Uranus square, now's a time where you can start thinking about getting things going, and the momentum will be there for you. Okay. So for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, we have this new moon in your 8th house. This is the house of debt, joint finances. It's the house of death. It's the house of transformation. It's the house of traumatic experiences, where those are held, where your fears are held. And it's the house of deep psychological issues in the occult. So there's a lot packed into this house, as there's a lot packed into every house. But all of those topics, all of those themes, everything I just listed for you is subject to momentum, forward movement, new beginnings, and deep introspection that's going to give you insight that will be so valuable for you in the coming 20 years of your life. So you're going to want to pay attention to that. But this could be something connected to an opportunity for maybe getting some sort of investments, like maybe outside resources coming in for some sort of career or work-related or business-related pursuit. And so it could be something like crowdfunding, or you could even be investing in something in somebody else's business. And that could actually be quite fruitful for you. So there's a tie here with other people's money and your career or your business, especially if you are a business owner. That 10th house is way more prominent for you if you are somebody who runs your own business or who is self-employed, versus people who are employed by others, which have a 10th house, obviously, association, but 6th house becomes a little bit more dominant there. So anyway, mini astrology lesson, digression. So that being said, you have a lot of really good energy for something like that. It could even be like a business loan, or a loan that is involving your business. It doesn't have to be business related either. If you're somebody who is not working, unemployed, it could be an opportunity, a financial opportunity that comes to you through someone else to start your own business or something like that. Or it could be something to do with your financial legacy that you leave behind after your working years, because the 8th house is inheritance, it's your will, it's your life insurance, it's things like that. So make sure you have all of those ducks in a row, because there's something here that could have a positive end result. Also, this could be you starting something or getting something off the ground involving insurance and insurance payout. Your partner might be starting a new job or having a new form of like resource allocation coming in, and that could be really positive and really fruitful for you overall. There's a lot of good stuff going on there. This is also a time especially because it is the precursor to Pluto transiting, of deep introspection about your fears, your anxieties, your early wounds, your traumas that you've experienced in your life, and how those are still impacting you in the moment. How are fears that are derived from past experiences continuing to control you in the present? That is a good place for introspection here, because that's something that's very likely to come up quite a lot when Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo, this new beginning, this forward momentum, this supercharged energy is in the area of relationships. This is an area where you might have had a lot of struggle, a lot of stagnant energy, a lot of hard work that you've had to put in the last 2.5 years, where finally things are starting to feel like there's a little bit more wiggle room. Maybe you've put in the hard work. Maybe you've made those hard decisions. Maybe you've cut the ties that you need to cut over the past couple of years. And finally, you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Finally, all of that pivoting, all of that change, all of that challenge is leading you to a place of excitement, of freedom, of looking to the future and future prospects when it comes to your relationship. That doesn't mean that it's a new relationship necessarily, especially if you are in a really solid, really good, committed relationship, and the past 2.5 years have just been a period of refinement and putting some extra effort into that. Then this is where you see a new beginning for yourself in that partnership and for your partner, like kind of together as one unit, where things start to open up, where they feel much more expansive. This would be a great time to initiate something involving an adventure with your partner, by the way, because of that 9th house connection with Jupiter. That would be, I would love this energy for you planning not just a getaway, but a getaway that is a really incredible adventure for you, but that helps you to gain deeper intimacy and connection in your partnership, to get to know each other on a deeper, more intimate, emotional, and psychological level, because that's what Pluto is going to demand of you in just a couple of months. This is also a really great time for calling in a new relationship. You could have that momentum there where you could have a new beginning in this area, a fresh start if that's what you need. And I would say that looking for love or looking for connection at a distance at this time, somebody who lives like far from you, somebody in a foreign country, or even through a travel experience, that could be quite fruitful. But really, it's all about looking for somebody who has the same ideals, the same value systems, because that's that connection to the 9th house as well. Or maybe even from the same religious background or the same spiritual or philosophical field of study that you kind of are into, whatever it is. This is a really great time for that. So that's what's going on for Leo. Okay. And so for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this new moon is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. This could be a brand new beginning for you in all of those areas. It's a great time to set intentions for all of those things. I would say especially though, because of that sextile that's going on here between this new moon and Jupiter, which is in your 8th house currently, which is a deep healing house. It's a house of psychological healing, which you could have a profound experience in that area while Jupiter transits your 8th house now through May. This could stimulate that, and this could tie in to a physiological experience of healing as well. It's kind of like healing all levels at the same time, going deep and expansive, going into that psychological realm, looking at the emotional roots and the emotional causes that could be contributing to physiological symptoms and ailments and illnesses. I'm not a doctor, obviously, and I can't tell you doctor things. But this is a time where you could experience in all levels sort of healing. And if that's something that you need, if that's something you desire, you can call that in. This could also be you initiating something involving your own healing practice, coming into your own as a healer. All of those things are potentials and possibilities. This is also a great time if you've been feeling so stuck and so fed up with your day-to-day work life, your day-to-day work routines, the work that you're doing in general, especially if you're employed by somebody else. Now's a time for you to initiate something new where you can finally submit those job applications and get the right people calling you back for interviews. Saturn's still there for a couple of months, but it does not hurt to get that momentum going, because Saturn and Uranus are coming apart from that square things are starting to look up. It's kind of like, yeah, you've been there, done that, you've put in a lot of the work. Now you can start to see the rewards of all of the effort that you've put in toward building your career path or building your skill set in your work or gaining experience that you needed, all of those things. Also, if you've been having difficulty with employees, so if you're in a management position or you have a business of your own, now's a time where you could start something new in that area and have much better results. So it'd be a good time to hire if that's what you need, or unfortunately maybe to fire if that's what you need, because Pluto will come in and show you that for sure in a couple of months. And so all of those things are potentials for Virgo. Also, I should mention pets. A really great time for initiating new beginnings involving animals, if that's something that's applicable or desirable to you as well. All right, let's see here. So we have Libra. Libra and Libra rising. And so for Libra and Libra rising, this new moon is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of joy, creativity, hobbies, interests, passions, things that you do because you love to do them. It's also the house of children. It's the house of performance. It's the house of entrepreneurship. It's the house of sex and sexuality. There are so many things that happen in this 5th house, and all of those things are subject to new beginnings and a lot of excitement in an area where it's been a little stifled, or it's been feeling like a lot more work with Saturn transiting that area of your chart, because Saturn kind of restricts and limits and places rules and regulations around things. And so in that 5th house, it could feel like play was more like work, or you could have been turning your play, turning your passions into like a business. It could feel like raising your kids was 10 times more strenuous over the past few months. It could feel like romance is a lot of work. Now's a time where you're getting out of that and you're really honing in on what you truly need, want, and desire when it comes to your passions. And that's what's really going to be initiated when Pluto gets into the mix. And so you're getting a taste of that and you're getting like an insight around that. I especially do like this new moon for Libras, though, especially Libra rising people, for expanding on romance and expanding on connection in partnership, and especially sexual connection in partnership. And so if that's something that you already have, this is a great time to dive all in enthusiastically and get a little more of that in an appropriate fashion. But if it's something that you don't have, it's something that you could actually seek out, and you could have really meaningful connections that actually present themselves in a way that's very positive, that provides a lot of benefits and opportunities to you, where it's mutually beneficial, these connections. And so that's something to think about as well. This is also just you figuring out what you truly and deeply are passionate about. And starting to actually move into that more so. And so this could be a time for you to start a new project that's tied to what your heart wants, or that's tied to your passions, or if you're somebody who's a performer, that's tied to performance, a passion project that you want to get into the mix if you're an entrepreneur, things like that. All of that is possible and I mean advisable, I would say, at this time. Okay. And so for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, new moon happening in your 4th house. So this is where it could be a little personally challenging. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that the fixed signs in particular, you have momentum, things are moving forward, and it is very positive regardless of where it's at in your chart for most people. But it is going to be a little bit of extra effort in your part, and you're going to feel a little bit more friction than some of the other signs around these themes. And the themes that are affecting you are home, family, property, and real estate. This is where you have to get clear on what you need, want, and desire at your roots in preparation for Pluto moving in and kind of putting a wrecking ball to anything that's not deeply and truly aligned to what you desire. This is also going to dredge up some stuff. So if you've had some difficult early childhood experiences with your family, with your parents, with your upbringing, this is a time where it could be a little triggering for you, especially with the moon being so close to the earth at the time of this new moon, this crisis lunation energy. And so that's something that you might have to work through to heal through, that might come up for you at this time. However, I think that this is a really great time for you to initiate something new, so long as it's aligned with what you truly need, want, and desire for yourself when it comes to your home, your place of living, and your family connections. And so if this is an energy for you where you've been wanting to start like a new renovation project, when you've been wanting to move maybe and find a better location. If you've been wanting to deepen your connection to your ancestry, to your roots, to your heritage, or to your family, very literally, now's a time where you can get the ball rolling, where it's been strenuous with Saturn transiting that area of your chart, but things are starting to look up and open up. And so you'll have more opportunity. This is also where your day-to-day work or your day-to-day experience in your home life can feel much more open and exciting and expansive. You can develop better routines in the home. And this is also where connecting to your roots or healing something at that ancestral or familial level can help you open something up for yourself physically or physiologically with your health. And so that's something to think about too. Also, working from home, this is a great energy for. So establishing a home office or switching to like online or at a distance work. If that's something that is applicable to you and that you're wanting, this would be a great time for that too. Okay. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this new moon is happening in your third house, which is the house of community connection. It's the house of education. It's the house of certifications. It's the house of elementary education as well, if that's applicable to you in some way, like maybe you have young kids. This is the house of learning and kind of rudimentary skills. And so this could be a time where you're refining your more basic skills around something a little bit bigger and broader. This could be a time where you're getting recertified for something or certified for something for the very first time. It's kind of like there's an energy where you've been really wanting to learn something new for a couple of years now, and you've had to kind of go back and forth with it and pivot quite a bit. And finally, your day-to-day routine life, all of the chaos that's been kind of preventing you from really jumping in, is opening up, loosening up, and things are moving forward for you so you can actually embrace this new education, these new concepts. This could also be you wanting to teach something, to blog about something, to vlog about something, to start a podcast where you're sharing your knowledge, where maybe you've been hesitant, you've been allowing fear or external circumstance and hardship to hold you back. Now's a time where you're going to feel much more confident and much more excited. If this is something that you're passionate about education-wise, or when it comes to the information you're delivering out into the world, this is going to go quite well for you. This could also be an energy around a short distance travel opportunity that comes up that's very fun for you. It could be an opportunity for education that's connected to your children or to teaching children that could come up for you. That could be very positive. This could also be something involving vehicles. And so maybe you've been having issues with your car for the past couple of years with that Saturn transit to your third house, or issues with your commute even. Maybe that changes. Maybe something new opens up. Maybe you don't have to commute as far, or maybe you get a new vehicle and it's glorious. So all of those things are a potential for Sagittarius. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn, this energy is happening in your second house, which is the house of money, finances, wealth. And so this is a time where you could have some powerful new beginnings in this area. This is an area that might have felt tighter or more strenuous, either due to external circumstances, to money not coming in, or to having to save really intensely or pay something off, or shell out for a really big expense, either now or in the future, where all of a sudden you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you're at the final stages of it, and things are starting to open up where you can intuitively just know that there are opportunities coming for you. And these opportunities could be very powerful, very transformative. They could absolutely change not just your financial status into the future, but your relationship with finances. That doesn't mean this happens all at once right now. This is something where you're getting that taste, that instinctual understanding that we talked about at the start of this video. Watch that if you didn't, about Pluto moving into Aquarius, which will impact you for the next 20 years. This is a powerful energy that can draw wealth in like a magnet. It can also cause a lot of deep-seated fears, a lot of trauma, a lot of anxiety, a lot of things that have been buried around your connection to money and your money mindset to come up out into the open, and you'll have to heal through that to draw in that money like a magnet. And so there's going to be some steps there. And so you're going to start to kind of instinctually understand this and start to feel like you need to work on these things. This is also a really great time for new beginnings that you could initiate involving maybe an investment involving a home or a property, or the sale of a home or a property, where if you're going to do that, probably do it sooner than later, looking at the world astrology and whatnot, if you're going to want to make money on it. But this could be a time where that could be fruitful too. And there could also be a connection to finances and family that could be very powerful and very fruitful. Maybe somebody asks for a loan, and normally that's not something that you would do to for a family member, but this time you decide you're going to shell out, and that actually turns out to be something that expands on your relationship with that person. That generosity comes back to you in some way, or vice versa. You might need some money, and your parents or somebody, like somebody in your immediate family, helps you out, and that ends up being very beneficial. Just make sure you pay it back. All right. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this new moon is happening in your sign. So this is your big cosmic reset for the year. If you are an Aquarius sun sign, happy birthday, Aquarius. You are going to be coming into, if this is your birthday around the time of this new moon, you're going to be coming into powerful new beginnings, a deeply and intensely transformative year ahead, where everything is subject to new beginnings and changes. A lot in your life is going to be torn down in order to build something back up that's going to be way more aligned with your value systems. And I don't want you to feel fear around that, because it's not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace. It's going to be such an empowering experience where all of this toxic energy in your life that you've been holding on to, it's going to just be purged, and it's going to fall away, and it's going to feel so good and so liberating. However, on a mental level, there's going to be a lot of wanting to hold on to the way things were, and the ideas that you had about the way that your life should be, or the way that you should show up, or the way that things should play out. A lot of shoulds, right? A lot of mental blockages is what you're going to have to be dealing with, as opposed to physical stuff. So that's going to be your biggest hurdle, I would say, is getting over those mental blocks. This doesn't need to be this way. Clearly something better is coming in, or something different wants to take hold. But this is the new moon that is going to usher you into that. And this isn't just for people who are born at this time, by the way. I've already started launching into the forecast for all of the Aquarians now. But this is an energy where a new idea could come into play, or an opportunity could come to you through your community or community connections, or through a message, literally a message, or a piece of mail, or through a casual conversation that you have at the grocery store, in line, or something like that, or with a neighbor, that will help to facilitate a change or a new beginning for you that you really deeply and truly need. This is also a really great time for Aquarius people to just kind of cut loose and travel, do a little day trip, or travel on that mental plane by learning something new, mental exploration, especially in short bursts and in ways that are very exciting for you. I think that's going to be really important. But if there's something that you want to initiate that involves sharing and expanding upon information and ideas, or connecting with your community in some way, now is a time where you can initiate that, and that's going to go very well for you. Basically, this is your time to initiate whatever it is that you want to initiate, because this is your new moon. So whatever it is that you truly desire, what you feel compelled to do, what's aligned with you, your needs, wants, and desires, all of that, now is the time to move forward. Okay, and then finally, last but never least, Pisces and Pisces rising. This is an introspective new moon times 10 for you. I mean, it is also, as we mentioned before, highlighting that Pluto dip into Aquarius that we'll see in March through June. So what was that? March 23rd, through June 11th. This is going to give you a taste of what's to come there. So that is already an introspective energy for everyone. But for you, this is happening in your 12th house. This is the house of solitude, seclusion, rest, and reprieve. This is where you go to decompress, to be away from the world, to be away from other people, and to be in your own energy, in your own space, and to focus your mind in the area that you need to focus it on. So it's not letting external energies and circumstances kind of get in the way. This is also a big big cosmic reset for you where you're going to be purging a lot. This is the house of endings. It's the house of letting go. There could be something new that's initiated, if this is applicable to you, involving 12th house types of institutions like prisons, hospital systems, rehabilitation centers, spiritual retreat centers, ashrams, monasteries, things like that. And so if that's something that's applicable to you, especially if there's like a financial investment involved, this could be the time to take hold of that. But this could literally just be you initiating something in secret. So I could see a lot of Pisces people initiating something in solitude, behind the scenes, in secret, that other people don't know about, and that is intended to, or that will eventually translate into an expansion of your resources because of that Jupiter connection to this new moon. And so that's a big energy here too. This is a great time to kickstart your spiritual practice, to kickstart any sort of creative practices or pursuits that you do behind the scenes. And this is just a good time to get some rest. I mean, doing that at the very least, even if you're not plotting something in secret to make more money, just resting and taking a break and allowing your brain and your soul to kind of catch up with everything that's gone on in the past few months, that's going to serve you in a big way after this new moon. And that could lead to financial gain or the ability to make a big purchase or investment that you've been wanting to make, something along those lines. And so that is what's going on for Pisces. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. In the next one, we're going to be talking about the full moon that's coming up in the sign of Leo in a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, make sure you like this video if it helped you in some way. Share it with your friends if you feel like it could help them. Let us know in the comment section down below what you're going to be using all of this forward momentum for in your life. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video on Jupiter and Aries. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.